Hey, I'm Madison Mary and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, please consider clicking the subscribe button down below. Without further ado, let's get into my most disappointing reads of 2020. So whenever it comes to these videos, I need to do two things. First is give a disclaimer, and then second thing is let you know something else. The disclaimer is that if you love these books, great, good for you. They just weren't it for me. You know, some of these books, some people really do love. Some of these books, I don't know if people do like them. I just know that I didn't enjoy them at all. These are all books that I completely read. If I DNF a book, I'm not gonna like rate it badly. That's just not something that I do. Unless it was like super duper horrible and I want to let you know. But nothing on this list was DNF. They are all 3 stars and below. I think there's only like 1 or 2 3-stars on this list, but most of them are below that. And then the second thing I want to mention is that I'm not going to like go into massive like plot synopsis of these books, and I'm not going to like explain too much why I didn't like them, just because I just don't think that's that fun. If you are someone who's going to be offended by this video, please don't watch it. So without further ado, let's get into my top 10 most disappointing reads of 2020. These are in no particular order. I'm gonna start with 5 Total Strangers. This was a YA thriller that just, it wasn't good. I wouldn't recommend it unless you are brand new to YA thrillers, in which case maybe you would like it. It's about a girl who needs to get home for the holidays and her plane gets grounded, and so she ends up renting a car with 4 strangers. That's what it's about, and it wasn't good. It was not that thrilling. I was not that surprised by who the person committing things was, and the whole like thrilling aspect of it that it was supposed to be were these like letters that were supposedly sent to the main character, and she never received them. So like, it didn't even make sense, you know, that was the whole like threatening part of it, but like, it wasn't good. Number 7 is They All Fall Down. This is also a, thriller, and it was pitched as And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, and it is basically that. Legitimately. It is And Then There Were None, but changed. So if you haven't read And Then There Were None and you want like maybe a more modern take on it, read this. But if you read it And Then There Were None, don't read this, because you're just gonna be like, okay, like good to like, it's the exact same. Everything that happens in that happens in this. It's no different. So it was just sad. The next 2 are 2 books I read in a little series I did last year, which was I read these so you don't have to. And I do plan on continuing on this series this year, where I read books that came out in like the early 2000s that were like hot shit. And I'm like, well, are they still worth it? I read The Selection, Hush Hush, and The Luxe for this video. The Selection I gave 4.5, almost 5 stars to. I loved it. Hush Hush and The Luxe were god awful. God awful. God awful. Hush Hush was like, I think a 2-star, and then The Luxe was like a 1. I pushed the crap out of myself to finish that book. It was just not good. These books did not stand up to the test of time. Not only that, but The Luxe was strangely mature than it was more mature than I remember. It was quite strange, so that was kind of shocking. But Hush Hush, it was so bad. It had like the most funny quotes in it that I had ever come across for a book. It was just awful. I mean, read it if you want to like laugh at the book, but I don't recommend it. Then we have 2 like smutty novellas that I read. The first was Captured by ɪɪ. This was just awful. If you watched my smutty novella vlog, you will know that this was just not a good book. It was just really creepy. These 2 people basically like, it's just not good. Just don't read it. If you're looking for a smutty novella, this is not it. Find something else. King of Lies, it was a wild ride, okay? Now, this has the potential to be good for some people. I went into it not realizing exactly what I was getting myself into, because it's basically about a woman who is captured by her husband and kidnapped by him. And the world thinks that she's been kidnapped by someone else, that like no one knows what's actually happened to her, but she there she is, kidnapped by her husband. So it was really weird, and it just wasn't good. And the sex scenes, it was just, no. I mean, I still kind of am intrigued to read the second one in this. It's like a duet novella kind of thing going on. It's so weird and bad that you want to know more, you know? So like, it's up to you. This does have potentials. I have read more from this author that I have enjoyed. This one was just like, I think it was free and that's why I bought it. And so, anyway, and this is like one of the books on this list where like, maybe you could like it. These next three were just like flat out disappointing reads because these were three books that I was very excited for. It's going to be Redemption Prep, The Last Magician, and Not Your #Love Story. These were all arcs that I had requested and they just turned out to not be good books. These were all 2 stars and below. So The Last Magician, I literally can't even remember what this was about. Oh, a girl and she can turn into a swan. It sounded really cool, and I will admit that there is a lot of potential for this author. So I still will definitely like look at more things that this author puts out, but this book was just not it. Redemption Prep was just all over the place. It was supposed to be another YA boarding school thriller. It did have an interesting aspect of it in the fact that it looks into like an alternate version of like the creation of Adderall, which was the only part of this book that I liked. It did have like an interesting like kind of openish ending that I do give it credit for, but it was just a very messy book. And so I just, yeah, no. And then Not Your #Love Story, I don't think I'll read anything else from this author again. Nothing against them, it's just, this was, it's about a girl and you know, she's a YouTube channel, and that's always going to be like, when you have your own YouTube channel and you read about a character that also has one, it's hard because you're going to be more judgmental about it because you do that, and so you see a lot of flaws in it. So I've definitely learned that that's just not something I'm ever going to read in a book again unless it's by someone who's done that themselves, because I've just never seen it done right. But also the love story in this was just really stupid. And then the last book I have to mention is one that is very controversial, and that is This Is How You Lose the Time. This book was not for me. I wanted to love it. I bought it for a video, and no, it was not me. I think a lot of people either love this book, like full on 100%, like obsessed, love it, or they're like me and they felt like a dumbass the entire time they were reading it, and they were like, what is happening? What is happening? And I finished the book and I was like, I think I only understood like 10% of what I just read. The writing was very beautiful and flowery and great, and the prose was like on point. It's just the plot to me was just, what? And I didn't get it. The whole point of it was like this like beautiful gay romance between these two time travelers. And I was just like, I don't get why they're in love with one another. Like, I did not get the romance in it, so that wasn't for me. So those are my most disappointing reads of 2020. Hope I didn't offend anyone. I don't really tend to have that many unpopular opinions, so I don't know, I've just found that a lot of the times. Let me know. I mean, I don't want you to actually tell me what books you hated, because what am I going to do with that? I'm not going to go out and read books that someone else hated. Well, there would be no fun in that. So instead I'm just going to say, please like this video if you did enjoy it. And if you didn't subscribe at the beginning, like I said, please subscribe now. And until next time, everyone, goodbye.